got loyalty inside my DNA. Cocaine quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. Okay, so next one. Not going to lie, this one is a lot harder than the first question. So, excuse me, what we're going to do is we are going to do L'Hopital's rule. So again, we're going to take the derivative of the top. It's going to be equal to the limit as x approaches 0 of d dx, the derivative of 3 cosine squared x plus pi over 4, okay, minus 3 halves, and that's all over x. Because what happens is, if we plug in 0 for this limit, we get, okay, 0 plus pi over 4, we get cosine of pi over 4, and cosine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2, and then we're going to square that, and we're going to get 2 over 4, which is 1/2, and we're going to multiply that by 3 and get 3 halves. So this whole thing, when we plug in 0, ends up being 3 halves minus 3 halves, which is 0 over 0, which is indeterminate. So we can't take this derivative right now, or we can't take this limit right now. But what we can do is we can use L'Hopital's rule. We can take the derivative of the top and the bottom, and then try to take our limit again. Now, the reason this is hard is because we have a chain rule problem going on here. So just a quick sidebar. This, because, you know what, forget this part, derivative of negative 3 halves is 0, that's going to go away. But let's look right here. We can rewrite this as 3 cosine of x plus pi over 4 squared. So what we have is we have the inside function is cosine of x plus pi over 4. The outside function is the x squared. So we're going to do a power rule, and then we're going to do the derivative of the inside. So, here we go. So when we do our power rule, the 2 is going to come out front. We're going to get 2, okay, so this is still the limit, as x approaches 0. 2 times 3, okay, that's just from the power rule, times cosine x plus pi over 4. Okay, so we did the derivative of the outside, we did the power rule, the 2 coming out front, and then we have to do the derivative of the inside, which is cosine. So we're going to get negative sine, okay, x plus pi over 4. So now we're done with that chain rule. The derivative of the bottom is just equal to 1. Okay, so now what we have is we have 6 out front. Now we can plug in our 0 because we have 1 on bottom. So we're not going to get 0 over 0 anymore. We're happy about that. Instead, we can just plug in 0 now. So we say equals 2 times 3 is 6 times cosine of 0 plus pi over 4, which is pi over 4, times negative sine of 0 plus pi over 4, which is pi over 4. That's all divided by 1, and so that we don't have to include that. So then cosine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2, so we get equals 6 times square root 2 over 2 times, okay, sine of pi over 4 is also root 2 over 2, but we're going to get negative because the negative's up front. That negative right here, don't forget about that guy. So this is going to equal 6. When you do root 2 times root 2, it's just 2. So we're going to have a negative 2 on top. And then on bottom, 2 times 2 is 4. So then when we multiply this fraction, we're going to get negative 12. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12 over 4, which is going to be negative 3. So the final answer to this question is negative 3. Let's go back for a second. You can stop watching now if you're satisfied with that answer, but what we have here is we have You know what? Just forget the derivative recognition thing. Let's just focus on L'Hopital's rule and finding the limit using L'Hopital's rule. So if you go through this work, make sure you understand all the work we just did. Our final answer is -3. The limit as x approaches 0 is -3. We couldn't do it at first because we got 0 over 0. But then we did L'Hopital's rule, which got rid of the x on bottom and turned it into a 1. Derivative of x is 1. So that we could just plug in 0 to the top. When we simplified, we got -3. Okay, review that.